Hello, this is Jerry Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. First, we have a nonviolent revolution from LP Texas official from lptexas.org, and yeah, I personally would advocate for non-violence. I think non-violence is probably the way to go over violence. But if people, my thing is, people will if people want to justify using violence, I think they should be able to do so. But don't be surprised if you justify using violence that you get punished for it, because that's usually what happens. Because I think we do have to uphold the non-aggression principle, and how we shouldn't be just constantly firing guns at each other. We should be trying to have peace as much as possible, I would say. Then we have Canada was ashamed to have saluted a Ukrainian who fought for Hitler, but that salute didn't come from nowhere. The fact that some Ukrainian collaborated with Nazis is no secret, but it's been whitewashed. From Forward.com by Delufalou. And that's interesting. I would say, I think, people say Nazis are bad, but then it's suddenly when the narrative says otherwise, they say, oh, Nazis were actually good in some instances because, they were fighting the Russians. So, people will do whatever the narrative says and justify whatever they justify, I would say. Then we have, it may seem strange at first glance, since that's left liberals most supportive of the war policy of Biden, Raytheon, and CIA, but it makes perfect sense when one remembers the really are convinced that Russia is the reason Hillary lost. That's why they wanted to destroy Russia, from Glenn Greenwald on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, let's see, I said, agreed. Outside of Trump, Russia has been marketed as the biggest boogeyman for the DNC left, and that's why you have so much justification for the proxy war with them. The conspiracy theory part of my brain says that HRC might have threw the election on purpose to more effectively push for war with Russia. After all, if she could rig the 2016 Dem primaries, why couldn't she also rig the general, but this time against her instead of for her? People cannot, and my theory is that HRC is a bigger war than anything, and knew that Trump, who was a DNC asset, would make the GOP look bad and be easier to control the narrative around than herself, so she rigged it and blamed Russian collusion as a means to push for her war hawk agenda. Then we have the capitalist authoritarians flexing today from Chi-Tunnel 20, and that's how that one of their posts or one of their constants removed for violent language. And I personally think, I'm personally a free speech absolutist, but I guess if platforms do want to have rules against violent language, I think they should be able to. But I personally think violent language falls under free speech, I would say. Same with, all the other things. But if you want to use violence, I think you should be able to use whatever speech you want. But sadly, the advertisers make decisions these days, and they want to crack down on all dissenting speech, it seems. So that's why I don't think we'll have free speech for too much longer, I'll say, especially when it comes to the internet. I think the free and open internet is probably dead, and I think if we're just going to see its corpse just continue to decay over the rest of the next couple decades. Then we have, we live in a simulation, well, except for Josh, from Michael Malice on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, and that's how Josh Kruger tweeted on September 30th. The Dilbert dude looks like Nostradamus. Look at the prediction from 2020. Wow, eerie. And that was his tweet from July 1st, 2020. Scott Adams. If Biden's like, there is a good chance he will be dead within the year. And then a day or two later, he died and he was fatally shot 7 times in his own home. So I said, shows why it might not be a good idea to live in a city, especially one with a Soros-funded DA. Then we have, Pope suggests blessings for same-sex unions possible in response to 5 conservative cardinals. When the Catholic Church is more progressive than the GOP, the party narrative has jumped the shark, from APnews.com by Chi-Tunnel 20, and I think, I guess you can make the argument, yeah, but I personally think, I personally think, the Pope's taking a more libertarian angle to it. If you want to, I think he's saying, oh, if you want to bless same-sex unions, you should be able to. If you don't want to, I don't think you should be forced to do so. So I think, and everyone's always progressive. Everyone always likes the Pope, but you have to remember, people won't like him because you're gonna like him. I think he's only using Chi-Town residents because he goes with the narrative. When he talks about abortion, he doesn't go with the narrative, so that's why Chi-Town doesn't bring him up in that instance. Then we have Connected by Fate, West Asian grassroots solidarity of Ukraine and the intricacies of Russian imperialism in the region, from Chi-20, that's from commons.com.ua. And yeah, I personally don't think I'll get too much into that one, but it looks interesting. I definitely think, if people want to support Ukraine, they should be able to, but I think if people want to support Russia, they should be able to as well. I personally support an end to the fighting, and hopefully we can get peace soon. Yeah. So, then we have some, let's see, next we have Some Beautiful Words by Left Libertarian Comrade Goebbels from Comrade Proton. I think that's a satire account, but you really can't be sure at this point. And it says, "We are a workers' party because we see in the coming battle between finance and labor that the beginning and the end of the structure of the 20th century. We are on the side of labor against finance. The value of labor under socialism will be turned by its value under the state to the whole community. Damn shame that the American Libertarian Party has taken over by the far-right fascists. We need a real Libertarian Party who puts workers first." And I said, Goebbels is about as libertarian as Keynes was. So, it's just Keynes who pretty much justified to print more money, centrally planned economy, and was also a pedophile and eugenicist that we see today. No, he's a pedophile eugenicist and pushed for a centrally planned economy that just goes print more money that we see today. He's not libertarian either. They're all not libertarian. I would say a lot of people aren't. A lot of people from the past, all those before, the Nazis weren't libertarian, and the Soviets weren't libertarian, and a lot of the Keynes wasn't libertarian. So, it's important to remember. I personally think anyone should be able to consider themselves libertarian, but, I personally consider a lot of those guys not to be libertarians. Yeah. Then we have Kevin McCarthy is a swamp creature of the highest order. Biden said that McCarthy had promised him they would pass the Ukraine aid package within 45 days. Gates is a base savage from the Florida swamp who seems to want real spending cuts. You can guess who I'm siding with, from Clint Russell on Twitter. And I posted that. And I said, I think it might be a bit of political theater on Gates' part, but I can't say I'm not rooting for him over McCarthy. That's writing down something about on the Pope post. If you went against narrative like with abortion, you would compare him to Hitler. So let's go back to Kevin McCarthy. I don't support Gates a lot. I'm just rooting for him against McCarthy. Everyone's like, oh, Gates he has nothing to lose. He's a sex trafficker, pedophile. I'm like, what did I say? I said, you probably support pedophiles and off your agenda, like J.M. Keynes. Everyone in the out group is guilty until proven innocent. Everyone in the in group is innocent until proven guilty. Next, we have socialists are mad that you can't get unemployment benefits while you have a job but are refusing to work. You can't make this shit up, from Brad Palumbo on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, it's entitlement to the resources of others, which is a great summary of the progressive worldview. Then we have, it's easier to train a smart dog than a dumb one. In fact, convincing yourself of absurdities takes a certain level of mental sophistication to do the gymnastics, from Michael Mouse on Twitter. And I posted that and I said, agreed. People confuse being smart and being wise a lot of the time. Just because you're smart does not mean you know everything, especially in regards to the intentions of the institutions that you trust so much. Then we have Hunter Biden arrangement, president's son, to appear in court on gun charges. CNN politics. Republicans notice how Democrats are okay with policing their own. And you have to remember, and that's from Child 20, and you have to remember that Um, uh, I think Hunter Biden just might be a fall guy. They'll never. When they police their own, it's just because they're fall guys. They're all pretty much the same, but some of them just get caught sometimes. You see that, I think, with Hunter Biden here. Then we have FBI interviewed individuals who accuse Amy Coney Barrett faith group of abuse from TheGuardian.com by Whittling Dan. And that is a crossroads from the r/law subreddit. And I guess I would agree, I think the group should be held accountable for their abuse. But I definitely think this is more of an agenda post since Amy Coney Barrett's in the out group, I would say. Then we have Michigan Republicans' authoritarian plan to overturn voting rights is sinister from NewRepublic.com by ChaiTown20. And I guess, the thing is, I personally think that's another agenda post because they think voting rights are kind of like, they're like a code word for if we lose, we're just blaming the elections on you took too many voting rights, and we'll say voter suppression. That's what they did in 2004 in Ohio, and that's important to remember as well. I personally think democracy is kind of just like mob rule. So I personally think, some people are saying, "Oh, women should have the right to vote." I personally think no one should have the right to vote. I'm at the point. I don't think other people should be making decisions for you, and that's essentially what democracy is. Then we have India's capitalist fascistic government is using terrorism laws to target journalists from Wired.co.uk and China20. And I personally don't think that's good. But I definitely do think journalists in India probably do have it harder than journalists in the U.S. who just sit on Twitter all day, I'll say. Then we have the annual human cost of capitalism from China20 across from the labor subreddit. 20 million deaths per year. It says 8 million die from lack of clean water, 7.5 million die of hunger, 3 million die from curable disease, 500,000 die of malaria. And I said, such a Reddit post. These are the same people who don't care what the death toll of communism/socialism is. What people die under capitalism is 100% capitalism's fault. And so that's my thoughts there. So let's see. Next we have everyone. This is what an actual witch hunt looks like. Republicans, please read. Socialist opposition leader Patrick Hermini changed charge of witchcraft from BBC.com by Chaitan20. And I guess that's a literal witch hunt, I would say. But I definitely think everyone would just try and justify their persecution, and this guy seems like he has an easy way to justify his, I would say. Then we have everyone in the out group is guilty until proven innocent. And everyone in the in-group is innocent until proven guilty. And I tweeted that, and I posted it as well. I said, profound realization I had today. So that's my thoughts there, yeah. Then we have Kevin McCarthy ousted as House Speaker for thrusting Congress into chaos from nypost.com. And I said, that's a post from Frosty Sloman. I said, good, even normie libertarians like Justin Amash and Josh Eagle didn't like him, so neither should the people here. Hopefully we get someone who changes it up, but they all seem to be interchangeable anyway. Then we have, this is much bigger, more important than who happens to occupy a speaker's chair in the House, from Sean Davis on Twitter. And that's a quote tweet from Benjamin Weingarten, who tweets, big breaking, CSA, this nerve center of the Fed-led censorship regime, has now been prohibited from engaging in speech policing in a bombshell new opinion from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. This corrects a major deficiency in its original ruling from Newsweek.com. And I said, great news, but I won't be surprised if they find a way to do it under the table. Then we have, I regret to inform you that libertarians are at it again. And that's from Aaron McIntyre on Twitter, and that's a post from the LP, a tweet, quote tweet LP Louisiana. For that matter, it's a picture. It says, libertarians want transferees to be able to protect their cannabis farms with unregistered machine guns. And they added, for that matter, we all support gender fluid hyper queens defending their magic mushrooms farms from Mars. I said, I replied with, not all of us are woke. And then they did it again today. I did a tweet of, we support the right of drag queens to practice Ukrainian churches using tanks. And I said, my final take on the situation is I linked to a tweet from Jack Hunter I did a while ago. Really feels like they should do. I should remember this. And instead, Jack Hunter tweeted, I said this for years, but it feels like time to say it again. If you're a left libertarian, right libertarian who is more concerned with being left or right libertarian, you'll become less libertarian. So I think that's my final thoughts on there. And yeah, I don't know if we have any new posts. Let's refresh and see. I don't think there are any new posts, so I think we might wrap it up there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.